Good morning. I hope y'all are doing well today. Today is Murder Mystery Monday, and we're going to dive right in because I have homebound going on today, and so it's going to be very, very busy. But I wanted to let y'all know today's person that we're talking about for Murder Mystery Monday is David Parker Ray, and this is what he looks like. He's been to jail. He was a little bit younger when he first started out, but he is known as the Toy Box Killer. That's right, the Toy Box Killer. He was born in November the 6th, 1939, and he died May the 28th, 2002. He was an American kidnapper. He was a torturer, a rapist, and a suspected serial killer. Though no bodies were found, he was accused by his accomplices of killing several people and suspected by police to have murdered as many as 60 women from Arizona and New Mexico while living in Elephant Butte, New Mexico. Yes, that is funny. Approximately 7 miles north of what's called Truth of Consequences. Now, he soundproofed a truck trailer that he called his toy box, y'all, and equipped it with items used for sexual torture. Ray was convicted of kidnapping and torture in 2001, for which he received a very lengthy sentence, but he was never convicted of murder, y'all. He died of a heart attack about 1 year after his convictions in 2 cases, the second of which resulted in a plea deal. Now, during his childhood, Ray and his younger sister, Peggy, lived with their disciplinarian grandfather. He was sporadically visited by his violent alcoholic father, who would supply him with magazines depicting sadomasochistic pornography. At Mountain Air High School in Mountain Air, New Mexico, he was also bullied by his peers for his shyness around girls. Now, of course, he had sexual fantasies of raping, torturing, and even murdering women. It developed during his teenage years. Around this time, his sister discovered all of these drawings that he had, as well as photographs and bondage pics. After completing high school, he received an honorable discharge from the U.S. Army, where his services also included work as a general mechanic. Now, he did get, back in 1999, he got 224 years imprisonment for what he was doing. That's the penalty if he'd have actually stayed and been tried, but he was not. Like I said, they do know a possible 60 plus murders they suspected and 3 people that he tortured. And his span of crime went from whenever he started all of this, right after he got out of high school, up until they caught him in 1999. So there's no telling how many. He was divorced 4 different times. He had 2 children. One, he made an accomplice, which was his daughter, Jessie Ray. She was born Glenda Jean Ray. And he would use whips, chains, pulleys, straps, all kinds of horrible, you can think of it, that's what he used to terrorize these women for many years while living in New Mexico. With the help of accomplices, he would even do this to some of the women that he had been dating. What else? He just liked inflicting pain. He made his own homemade electrical generator. Ray posed as an undercover police officer at one time, and he approached a lady named Cynthia Vigil in her parking lot. He told her she was under arrest for solicitation and prostitution, and he handcuffed her, put her in his trailer, and took her off. He held her for 3 days, and she escaped, y'all. And that's how, to escape, she waited till he'd gone to work, and then she somehow unlocked her own chains. I said that one of his helpers or accomplices was named Cindy Hendy and had left the keys nearby before going into another room, and that's to talk on the phone or something, and that's how she was able to flee. Let's see. She was fled while wearing only an iron slave collar and padded chains. She ran down the road seeking for help, which she got from a nearby homeowner who took her in, comforted her, and called the police. Her escape led officials to the trailer and instigated the capture of Ray and his accomplices. Police stopped Ray and his accomplice, Cindy Henny, when they trapped him and had taken him to jail. After the publicity surrounded the arrest, another victim, Angelica Montano, came forward. She told a very similar story, did incident police, but there was never any follow-up. And then he had a video of another victim named Kelly Garrett, who was also called Kelly Van Cleve, which he had dated in 1996. She was ultimately found alive in Colorado after police identified a tattoo on her ankle. She later testified that she had gotten in a fight with her husband, decided to spend the night playing pool with friends. Ray's daughter, Jessie, like I told you, who knew Garrett, took her to Blue Water Saloon in what was called Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, drugged her, knocked her unconscious from a blow behind, took her to the trailer, woke up, blacked out, was drugged. He thought that he had killed her. Then he dumped her on the side of the road. She later was treated with injuries at a local clinic. Her husband nor the police believed her story. Her husband believed she had been cheating on him that night and that she was attacked. He sued for divorce, and then she moved to Colorado. Later, Cold Case Files actually later interviewed her about her whole ordeal. And 2 other accomplices were uncovered by the investigation. Glenda Jean, Jessie Ray, Ray's daughter, and Denise Yancey. Yancey admitted to strangling his former girlfriend, Marie Parker, after Ray had kidnapped and tortured her. She was convicted of second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and was sentenced to 2 15-year prison terms. After that murder, Ray allegedly admitted to having had an accomplice named Billy Bowers, a previous business partner, whom Ray also murdered. The Federal Bureau of Investigation sent 100 agents to examine his property and surroundings, but they never found any human remains on the property. To prevent women from reporting these crimes, Ray would drug them with agents to induce amnesia. He made a tape recording of himself telling one woman that the drugs were sodium pentothal and phenobarbital. One woman remained uncertain that her recollections of the abuse were anything but nightmares until she was contacted by the FBI. After questioning, she came to remember her mistreatment in increasing detail. So like I said, there were trials. There were three different trials. One of his acts against Cynthia Vigil, one of those against Angela Monaco, and one of those against Kelly Garrett. Trial 1 resulted in a mistrial and retrial with a conviction in the retrial of all 12 counts. Montano died before Trial 2, and there was no conviction. In Trial 3, Ray agreed to a plea bargain in which he was sentenced in 2001 to 224 years in prison for numerous offenses in the abduction and sexual torture of these 3 women at his Elephant Butte Lake home. Now, Ray's daughter, Glenda Jean Jessie Ray, also was tried on charges of kidnapping, and she was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison with an additional 5 years to be served on probation. In 1999, accomplice Dennis Roy Yancey was convicted of strangulation murder of Marie Parker, and which Ray had recorded, and so he had proof of it. And in 2010, Yancey was paroled after serving his 11 years, but the release was delayed by difficulties in negotiating a plan for residence. Now, 3 months after his release in 2011, Yancey was charged with violating his parole. He was then remanded to custody, where he is to remain until 2021 to serve the rest of his original sentence. In 2000, Cindy Hendy, an accomplice who testified against Ray, received a sentence of 36 years for her role in the crimes. She was scheduled to receive parole in 2017. Now, she was released on July 15, 2019, after serving the 2 years of her parole in prison. Now, on May the 28th, 2002, Ray was taken to the Lee County Correctional Facility in Hobbs, New Mexico, to be questioned by the police, and that's when he died of a heart attack before the interrogation could even take place. It's just crazy. I don't know anything about the father. If the father had, because the father was the one that gave him all that information to start with. We don't know if the father had any charges or not. Let me look and see real quick if his father ever had any charges on him. Because that would make sense if he did, because he did learn this from his father. And a lot of things are taught. And I know just because people look at stuff like that doesn't mean they actually act on it, but it's sick and demented that somebody would actually want to do those kind of things. Let me see if Cecil Ray is his father's name. Yes, his father was actually had served a sentence. Cecil Ray Price was his name. And he had committed some murders. And he served 4.5 years at Sandstone Federal Penitentiary in Minnesota. Following his release from prison, he returned to Philadelphia, Mississippi, and worked a variety of odd jobs. And it says here, he was also a member of the KKK. He was arrested with 3 workers, allegedly on suspicion of being involved in a church arson, locked in the county jail. In 1974, he was released and worked as a surveyor, an oil company driver, watchmaker at a jewelry shop. He was never charged with the murders of the 3 men. It's pretty crazy. He followed some of his father's footsteps of some of that stuff that he was doing. It just goes to show you never know. But, yeah, it's crazy. I hope y'all have enjoyed this. Not enjoyed, just enjoyed the Murder Mystery Monday. Not what actually happened or what he's doing, because that would be sick and twisted. But do your research, find out. That just happened to be one that caught my eye. He just was very, very crazy. But during that time period, if y'all remember, that sadomasochist stuff, that is what some of those artists were into that I told you about when we first started the Murder Mystery Mondays. A lot of that was going around in that time period. Very, very sick and twisted cult-like stuff. But I'll catch y'all next time when we talk about another Murder Mystery Monday. And hopefully next week's will not be as graphic. I try to be as least graphic as possible because a lot of grandparents or family may be watching these, around your kids. But that's why you always know your surroundings, know who you're hanging around, know what you're doing. Always watching and being aware. Make sure you're not on your cell phone. Make sure you don't park next to a van or a truck when you park your vehicle. Just always make sure that all of your other car doors are locked. When you're getting into your car, just unlock your door. And just be very, very cautious, like I said. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day.